The debris field stretched endlessly before Taemin's small salvage ship. Chunks of metal floated silently through the darkness, remnants of battles fought years ago. This region of space had no name on official maps. Pirates called it the graveyard. Salvagers called it home. Taemin guided his ship, the Morning Star, between twisted hull fragments and shattered engine cores. He had been doing this work for 3 years now. After leaving the military, he found peace in the silence of dead ships and forgotten wrecks. No orders to follow. No commanders breathing down his neck. Just him, his ship, and whatever treasures the void offered. His scanner beeped. A distress beacon, faint but active. Taemin frowned. Active beacons were rare out here. Most ships that died in the graveyard died completely, their power cores long cold. He adjusted his course toward the signal. The wreckage appeared on his view screen 30 minutes later. Taemin's breath caught in his throat. The ship was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its hull was smooth, almost organic-looking, made from a dark material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange symbols covered the surface, glowing with a pale blue energy. "What are you?" Taemin whispered. He brought the Morning Star closer, scanning the wreck. His computer found no matches in any database. The design predated even the oldest known civilizations. This ship had been floating here for thousands of years, maybe longer. Yet somehow its distress beacon still functioned. Taemin suited up and crossed the void between ships. His magnetic boots clanked against the alien hull. Up close, the symbols seemed to pulse as if alive. He found an opening where something had torn through the ship's side. Probably weapons fire. Whatever happened here had happened long ago. Inside, the ship was just as strange. The corridors curved in ways that hurt to look at. Taemin's headlamp cut through the darkness, revealing chambers filled with crystalline containers. Many were shattered. Frozen alien corpses drifted in the zero gravity. They were tall, slender beings with elongated heads and 4 arms. Taemin had never seen their species before. He moved deeper into the ship, collecting samples and taking pictures. This find would make him rich if he could get it to the right buyer. But something pulled him forward, a feeling he couldn't explain. His feet carried him to what looked like a cargo hold. The room was large, filled with more crystalline containers. Most were broken, their contents destroyed by whatever catastrophe claimed this ship. But in the center of the room, one container remained intact. It glowed with a soft golden light. Taemin approached slowly. Inside the container sat an egg. It was massive, roughly the size of his torso, with a shell that shimmered with colors that seemed to shift and flow. Patterns of light moved across its surface like living things. The egg radiated warmth. Taemin could feel it even through his suit. He reached out and touched the container. The moment his gloved hand made contact, the light inside pulsed. The egg responded to him. Taemin's heart raced. This was no ordinary artifact. This was alive. His suit radio crackled. Unidentified vessel. This is Captain Hyunwoo of the Vreth Collective Enforcement Division. You are in violation of salvage law. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded, Taemin cursed. The Vreth were bad news. They claimed ownership of anything they considered an ancient artifact, and they had the military power to enforce their claims. If they found this egg, they would take it. They would probably take him too for questioning. He looked at the egg again. Something about it made him want to protect it. The feeling was irrational, foolish even. But Taemin trusted his instincts. They had kept him alive this long. Working quickly, he disconnected the container's power supply and activated the emergency release. The crystalline shell split open with a hiss of escaping atmosphere. Taemin carefully lifted the egg. It was warm in his arms, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. He hauled it back through the alien ship, moving as fast as zero gravity allowed. Behind him, he could hear the Vreth boarding craft attaching to the wreck. He had minutes at best. Taemin reached the Morning Star and sealed the airlock behind him. He placed the egg in a shielded storage compartment built into the ship's lower deck. It was designed to hide contraband from scanners. He hoped it would work. The Vreth boarded before he could even get out of his suit. Captain Hyunwoo was a tall insectoid alien with compound eyes and clicking mandibles. 3 heavily armed soldiers followed him onto the bridge. "Human," Hyunwoo's translator rendered his speech into flat, emotionless words. "You have violated protected space. All salvage must be surrendered to the collective." Taemin kept his face neutral. "I just got here. Haven't found anything worth taking yet." "Our sensors indicate you spent 40 minutes inside the derelict. You expect us to believe you found nothing?" Hyunwoo's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Old ship. Empty containers. Dead aliens. Nothing useful. Taemin shrugged. You're welcome to check my cargo bay. Hyunwoo's compound eyes studied him. Then the captain gestured to his soldiers. They searched the ship, tearing through Taemin's meager belongings and scanning every corner. They found some scrap metal Taemin had collected earlier that week. Nothing else. The shielded compartment held. The soldiers walked right over it. Hyunwoo clicked his mandibles again, clearly disappointed. You are fortunate, human. The derelict's value justifies our presence here. But you are not worth our time. Take your scrap and leave this sector. If we find you here again, we will not be so generous. Taemin nodded, not trusting himself to speak. The Vreth left his ship, and he waited until their craft was well away before allowing himself to breathe again. He set course for New Busan Station, a human colony hub 3 weeks away. Only then did he return to the storage compartment and check on the egg. It was fine, still warm, still pulsing with that gentle rhythm. Taemin sat beside it, watching the patterns flow across its surface. What are you? He asked again. And why do I feel like I need to keep you safe? The egg offered no answers. But as Taemin watched, the pattern seemed to respond to his voice, moving faster, swirling with brighter colors. It was beautiful. It was mysterious. It was probably going to get him killed. Taemin had served in the military long enough to recognize when something was important. This egg was important. Important enough that the Vreth would have executed him on the spot if they had found it. Important enough that people would hunt him across the galaxy once word got out. He should dump it. Jettison it into space and forget he ever found it. That would be the smart thing to do. But Taemin had left the military because he was tired of doing the smart thing, tired of following orders that made sense but felt wrong. This egg needed protection. It needed someone to care about it. For reasons he couldn't explain. Taemin knew he was supposed to be that someone. Okay, he said to the egg. We're in this together now. Let's see where this goes. The Morning Star accelerated toward New Busan Station, carrying its precious cargo into an uncertain future. Behind them, the ancient derelict continued its eternal drift through the graveyard, keeping its secrets silent among the stars. 3 weeks in hyperspace gave Taemin plenty of time to study the egg. He checked on it every few hours, unable to stay away for long. The patterns on its surface changed constantly, never repeating the same configuration twice. Sometimes they moved slowly like oil on water. Other times they pulsed rapidly, as if responding to something Taemin couldn't perceive. The egg was growing warmer. On the 5th day, Taemin's sensors detected a heartbeat inside. On the 10th day, the heartbeat had doubled in strength. Whatever was inside was developing fast. Taemin spent his nights researching ancient civilizations, trying to find any reference to eggs like this. The galactic databases contained thousands of species, but none matched what he had found. He expanded his search to myths and legends, stories dismissed by serious scholars as fantasy. That was when he found the first reference to the progenitors. The texts were old, translated through dozens of languages, their origins lost to time. They spoke of a race that existed before all others, beings who seeded life across the galaxy and then vanished. Most historians considered them myth, but one detail caught Taemin's attention. The texts described progenitor eggs as containing the sum of all their knowledge, passed down through genetic memory. Taemin looked at the egg in his cargo hold. Could it be? Was this a progenitor egg? The possibility both excited and terrified him. He needed help. Taemin contacted an old friend, Dr. Ji-won, a xenobiologist working at a research facility in human space. They had served together in the military back before Taemin left. She was one of the few people he trusted. The video call connected after a 2-hour delay. Ji-won's face appeared on his screen, her expression shifting from surprise to concern as Taemin explained what he had found. Send me all your scans, she said immediately. Don't transmit the location of the derelict. If what you're describing is real, every government in the galaxy will want it. Taemin sent the data. He watched Ji-won's face as she reviewed it, saw her eyes widen, her hand rise to cover her mouth. Taemin, she said softly. Do you understand what you have? Tell me. The energy signature matches ancient texts describing the progenitors. Not just similar. Exact match. This isn't a fossil or an artifact. This is living progenitor genetic material. Do you know what that means? Taemin shook his head. It means you're carrying the most valuable object in the galaxy. It means everyone will want this. And it means whatever hatches from that egg could be more powerful than anything we've ever encountered. Ji-won leaned closer to her camera. Be careful. And whatever you do, don't let it hatch near populated areas. We have no idea what might come out. The call ended. Taemin sat in his captain's chair, staring at the stars streaking past his view screen. Ji-won's warning echoed in his mind. But he couldn't bring himself to fear the egg. Every time he looked at it, he felt a strange sense of peace. On the 18th day, everything changed. Taemin was sleeping when the ship's alarm woke him. He ran to the cargo hold, heart pounding. The egg was shaking. Cracks spread across its surface, glowing with brilliant white light. The temperature in the room had risen 20 degrees. No, not yet, Taemin muttered. They were still 2 days from New Busan Station. He wasn't ready. But the egg didn't care about his schedule. The cracks widened. Pieces of shell fell away, dissolving into light before they hit the floor. Something moved inside. Taemin grabbed a medical kit, though he had no idea what he would need it for. He could only watch as the egg broke apart. The creature that emerged was nothing like Taemin expected. It was small, no bigger than his hand. Its body was covered in scales that shimmered like the egg had, changing colors in the light. It had 4 legs, 2 wings folded against its back, and a long tail. Its head was triangular, with large eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies within them. The creature looked like a dragon from old Earth myths, but also like something entirely alien. It tumbled out of the egg and lay on the floor, breathing hard. Its scales were wet and it shivered. Taemin knelt beside it slowly, carefully, the way he would approach any newborn animal. Hey there, he said softly. It's okay. You're safe. The creature's head turned toward his voice. Those galaxy-filled eyes locked onto him. Taemin felt something shift in his mind, as if a door had opened that he didn't know existed. Images flooded through his thoughts. Stars being born, worlds forming, life spreading across emptiness. Then the connection faded and the creature made a small sound, somewhere between a chirp and a purr. Taemin reached out with one hand. The creature sniffed his fingers, then pressed its head against his palm. Its scales were warm and smooth. Taemin felt that same irrational protectiveness wash over him, stronger now than before. I'm going to call you Bit, Taemin said. Short for little bit. Because you're small, for now. Bit chirped again, and Taemin could have sworn the creature understood him. Over the next few hours, Taemin learned that Bit was intelligent. Frighteningly intelligent. The creature watched everything Taemin did, mimicking sounds and movements. When Taemin spoke, Bit's head tilted, listening. After hearing a phrase 3 times, Bit could repeat it perfectly. But it was Bit's other abilities that truly amazed Taemin. He was repairing a damaged circuit panel when a power surge sent electricity arcing across the exposed wires. Taemin jerked back, but not fast enough. The shock caught his hand, burning his palm and sending pain shooting up his arm. Bit appeared instantly, somehow crossing the room faster than Taemin could track. The creature pressed its small body against Taemin's injured hand. A warm glow spread from Bit's scales. The pain vanished. When Bit pulled away, Taemin's burn was gone. His skin was perfect, unmarked. How did you do that? Taemin whispered. Bit looked at him with those impossible eyes and made a sound like wind through leaves. Taemin didn't understand the words, but he felt the meaning. Bit had healed him because Taemin was hurt. It was that simple. Taemin's communicator beeped. Incoming message. He checked the ID and felt his blood run cold. The message was from a black market information broker he had dealt with once years ago. The text was brief. Heard you found something valuable in the graveyard. Multiple parties interested. Vreth Collective offering bounty for information. Suggest you run. Taemin deleted the message and checked his ship's long-range scanners. Nothing yet, but if word was already spreading through the underground networks, he had hours at best before hunters found him. He looked at Bit, who had curled up in his lap, already twice the size it had been when it hatched. The creature was growing impossibly fast. Looks like we're in trouble, little friend, Taemin said. Everyone wants you, and I don't think they want to keep you safe. Bit nuzzled against his hand, trusting completely. Taemin made a decision. New Busan Station was compromised. Ji-won had probably been pressured to report his discovery. He couldn't blame her. The military could be very persuasive. He needed a new destination, somewhere off the main routes. He changed course, setting a new heading for the outer colonies. Places where the law was flexible and people minded their own business. Places where he and Bit might have a chance. As the Morning Star altered trajectory, Taemin held Bit close and wondered what he had gotten himself into. This creature in his arms was ancient, powerful, and apparently priceless. Armies would fight over it. Governments would fall because of it. But when Bit looked up at him with those trusting eyes, none of that mattered. Taemin had made a promise, maybe not in words, but in his heart. He would keep Bit safe, whatever it took. "You and me against the galaxy," Taemin said. "How hard could it be?" Bit chirped happily, as if the galaxy was just another adventure waiting to happen. Taemin hoped the little creature was right. The outer colony of Haven's Edge lived up to its name. It sat at the very edge of human space, a ramshackle station built from scavenged parts and hope. Taemin docked the Morning Star in a forgotten bay, paying extra credits for discretion. Bit had grown considerably in the 3 days since hatching. The creature now stood as tall as Taemin's knee, its wings fully developed and capable of short flights around the ship's interior. More concerning, Bit's telepathic abilities were strengthening. Sometimes Taemin would know what Bit wanted before the creature even moved. Other times he would see flashes of images that weren't his own memories. He needed help, and there was only one person on Haven's Edge he could trust. His younger sister, Subin. Taemin found her in the lower levels of the station, in a dimly lit room filled with computer equipment and glowing screens. Subin was hunched over a keyboard, her fingers flying across the keys. She didn't look up when he entered. "Took you long enough," she said. "I've been tracking your ship for 2 days. Half the galaxy's military is looking for you." "I know." "Do you?" Subin finally turned to face him. Her eyes were tired but sharp. "The Vreth Collective has put a price on your head. The Kethrans are mobilizing their fleet, and our own military wants you for questioning." "What did you find, brother?" Taemin hesitated, then opened his coat. Bit poked its head out, looking around the room with curious eyes. Subin's mouth fell open. "Is that a progenitor?" "Yes." "You brought a progenitor to my station? Are you insane?" Subin stood up quickly, her chair falling backward. "Do you have any idea what will happen if anyone finds out? That's why I need your help. I need new identification, new ship registration, a way to disappear." Subin stared at Bit. The creature stared back. After a long moment, Subin laughed, a sound somewhere between hysteria and amazement. "Of course you did. Of course you found the one thing in the galaxy that could start a war and decided to keep it as a pet." "It's not a pet. It's—" Taemin struggled to find the right words. "It's important. I don't fully understand why yet, but Bit chose me. I have to protect it." "Bit? You named the most powerful being in the galaxy, Bit?" Subin shook her head, but she was smiling. "Fine, I'll help you. But you owe me." "Big time." Over the next few hours, Subin worked her magic. She created new identities for Taemin and the Morning Star, buried their trail under layers of false data, and set up several decoy signals to throw off pursuers. While she worked, Bit explored the room, examining the equipment with intense interest. "It's smart," Subin observed. "Really smart. Look at how it's studying the computer systems. It's like it understands how they work." As if responding to her words, Bit placed a small paw on one of Subin's keyboards. The screens around the room flickered, then displayed images Taemin had never seen before. Ancient cities built from crystal and light, massive ships that dwarfed entire planets, beings of pure energy dancing between stars. "What is this?" Subin whispered. Bit pulled its paw away and the images faded. But Taemin understood. These were memories. Not Bit's memories, but genetic records passed down through countless generations. The history of the progenitors stored in living flesh. That night, while Subin worked on their escape route, Taemin dreamed. He walked through a city that existed millions of years ago. Progenitors moved around him, tall and graceful, their forms shifting between physical and energy states. They were preparing for something. A great voyage. They were leaving. One progenitor approached him, though Taemin knew this was impossible. He was dreaming, seeing the past, yet this being looked directly at him and spoke. "You are the guardian," the voice said, though no mouth moved. "You were not expected, but you are welcome. Know this, the child you protect carries within it a choice. A terrible choice. When the younger races prove themselves unworthy, when they bring destruction upon themselves, the child must decide. Reset or renewal, silence or song. The weight of galaxies rests upon one who has just been born." "What does that mean?" Taman tried to ask, but the dream was fading. You will understand when the time comes. Protect the child, teach it compassion, show it that even in darkness there is hope. Taman woke with a gasp. Bit was curled up on his chest, looking at him with those deep eyes. The creature had shared the dream with him. No more than that. Bit had shown him a memory encoded in its DNA. What are you really? Taman asked. What are you meant to do? Bit made a soft sound, sad and ancient. Images flickered through Taman's mind. A galaxy tearing itself apart in war. Species fighting over resources, territory, pride. Weapons that could destroy suns. Ships that could crack planets. And through it all, a growing sense of inevitability. The younger races were heading toward extinction, and they were too blinded by their conflicts to see it. The progenitors had known this would happen. They had seen it happen to other galaxies, other realities, so they created a failsafe, a biological reset mechanism. If their children proved too destructive, too willing to destroy everything rather than share, then life would be returned to its simplest forms. The galaxy would start over. That was Bit's purpose, to judge and, if necessary, to silence. No, Taman said firmly. I don't accept that. There has to be another way. Bit tilted its head, confused. You're just a baby. You shouldn't have to carry that responsibility. And the galaxy, yeah, it's messed up. Species fighting, governments being greedy. But there's good too. There are people trying to make things better. That has to count for something. Before Bit could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Subin burst into the room, her face pale. They found us. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. Freth Collective, Kethrin Empire, and a human military cruiser. They're demanding the station surrender you immediately. Taman grabbed his gear. How long do we have? Minutes, maybe. I'm trying to scramble their communications, but they're persistent. Subin was already moving toward the door. There's a smuggler's ship in Bay 7. Captain Daehyun owes me a favor. He can get you out. They ran through the station's corridors, Bit keeping pace easily. The creature had grown again. It was now the size of a large dog, its scales hardening into armor-like plates. Behind them they could hear the sounds of fighting. The 3 factions weren't just demanding entry. They were taking it by force. Bay 7 was in chaos. People were scrambling to evacuate as station security tried to hold back soldiers from 3 different armies. Taman spotted a battered freighter with its boarding ramp down. A man stood at the entrance, waving them forward. You must be Subin's brother, the man shouted over the noise. I'm Daehyun. Get aboard now. They sprinted across the bay. Behind them, a squad of Vreth soldiers appeared, weapons raised. Energy blasts scorched the ground near Taman's feet. Bit turned. The creature spread its wings and released a pulse of energy. It wasn't an attack, not exactly. More like a wall. The energy pushed outward, creating a barrier between them and their pursuers. The soldiers couldn't advance. Good trick, Daehyun said as they boarded his ship. But it won't hold long. Subin, you coming? Subin looked at her brother, then at the station around them. Someone needs to cover your escape. Buy you time. Subin, no. Go! She pushed Taman toward the ship's interior. I'll catch up. I always do. The ramp closed. Daehyun's ship launched immediately, blasting out of the bay just as Vreth soldiers broke through Bit's barrier. Through the view screen, Taman watched Haven's Edge shrink behind them. 3 warships pursued, but Daehyun was a skilled pilot. He wove between asteroids, used debris for cover, and eventually jumped to hyperspace just ahead of a Kethrin energy blast. In the relative safety of faster-than-light travel, Taman finally allowed himself to breathe. Bit pressed against his leg, offering comfort. Daehyun turned in his pilot's chair. So you're the guy with the progenitor. Heard stories about you. Thought they were exaggerated. Who are you really? Taman asked. Someone who's been waiting for something like this. For someone like you? Daehyun smiled. I know a place safe, where people who don't fit in the current galaxy can go. A place called Sanctuary Point. I think you and your friend there might find some answers. Taman looked at Bit. The creature met his gaze, and, for the first time, Taman heard its voice clearly in his mind. Not words exactly, but meaning. Trust him, so Taman did, because in a galaxy hunting them, trust was the only weapon they had left. Sanctuary Point appeared on their view screen like a miracle. The station was massive, built into a hollowed-out asteroid that drifted in the space between galaxies. No government claimed this region. No laws reached this far. It was neutral ground, maintained by those who had rejected the endless conflicts of their homelands. Daehyun's ship docked without challenge. As they disembarked, Taemin saw species he recognized and many he didn't, all moving together peacefully. A Vreth merchant bargained with a Kethran trader. Human engineers worked alongside beings made of crystalline light. This was what the galaxy could be, if everyone stopped fighting long enough to try. "Welcome to the last free place in the universe," Daehyun said. "Here, your past doesn't matter. Only what you do now." Bit had grown again during the journey. The creature now stood as tall as Taiman's waist, its wings powerful enough to carry it in flight. People stared as they passed, but no one raised weapons or called for guards. They simply watched with curious, knowing eyes. Daehyun led them to a conference room deep inside the station. 3 beings waited there. The first was a Vreth, but different from any Taemin had encountered. This one's exoskeleton was scarred, marked with symbols of dishonor. A deserter. "This is Vec," Daehyun introduced, former commander in the collective. He left when he realized what his government was really fighting for. The second being was Kethran, tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. "I am Althir," they said in a voice like music. "Once I served my empire as a philosopher. Now I serve truth." The third was human, an elderly woman with sharp eyes. "Dr. Yuna," she said simply. "I was with the research division before I learned what they were planning to do with their discoveries." "What is this?" Taemin asked. "Some kind of resistance?" "More like witnesses," Yuna replied. "We've all seen pieces of a puzzle. Separately, they meant nothing. Together, they paint a terrifying picture." She gestured to Bit. "And now you've brought us the final piece." Vec clicked forward. "May I?" When Taemin nodded, the Vreth examined Bit closely. "A living progenitor. The legends were true. Do you know what it's meant to do?" "Reset the galaxy if we're too destructive. Start everything over." Taemin's voice was bitter. "Turn us all into simple cells and let evolution try again." "Not quite," Althir said softly. The progenitors were not cruel. They were sad. They had watched countless civilizations rise and fall, always ending in the same destruction. The reset was not punishment. It was mercy, a chance to start fresh without the burden of mistakes. Yuna activated a holographic display. Star maps appeared, showing the current political landscape. Red zones marked conflict areas. There were too many to count. 3 major powers are developing weapons that will tear space-time itself. The Vreth Collective wants to weaponize dark matter. The Kethran Empire is building reality anchors that will freeze entire systems in temporal stasis. And your human government is creating something they call the Void Engine. "What does it do?" Taemin asked. "It erases things from existence. Not destroys, erases, as if they never were." Yuna's face was grim. These weapons were meant as deterrents, ways to ensure mutually assured destruction. But deterrents only work if everyone believes you'll never use them. These governments are desperate. They're considering first strikes. Bit made a low sound, something between a growl and a whimper. Taemin felt images flooding his mind. The progenitors had seen this before. Younger races developing godlike powers before they developed the wisdom to use them responsibly. It always ended the same way, complete annihilation. "When?" Taemin asked. "The Kethrans will finish their reality anchors within 3 months," Vec said. "The Vreth Dark Matter project is weeks from deployment. The human Void Engine is already operational, awaiting final authorization. So we have no time." Taemin looked at Bit. "What do we do?" Bit stood and walked to the center of the room. The creature had continued growing. It was now larger than a human, its presence filling the space with quiet power. When Bit spoke, everyone heard it. Not in their ears, but in their minds. "I am the last seed of the progenitors. Within me is carried the judgment protocol. When the younger races prove they will destroy themselves, I am to activate the ancient network. Every world touched by progenitor hands will be returned to its beginning. All complex life will become simple again. The galaxy will start over, clean and new." The voice was ancient, patient, and terribly sad. "But I'm also new," Bit continued. "I have lived only days. In that time I have known kindness from one who had no reason to show it. I have seen sacrifice. I have witnessed hope. The progenitors believed the younger races incapable of change. But Taemin has shown me something they did not predict. That individuals can choose differently than their governments. That even when logic says there is no hope, beings can act with irrational compassion. Yuna leaned forward. Are you saying you won't activate the reset? I am saying I do not know what to do. I was created with a purpose, but that purpose feels wrong. Yet the danger is real. If I do nothing, the younger races will destroy themselves and everything around them. If I act, I erase everything they have built, all their dreams and achievements. Both choices lead to death. Silence filled the room. Finally, Vex spoke. There might be another way. The progenitor network exists across thousands of worlds. What if instead of resetting life, we used it to show life the truth? Make everyone see what their governments are doing? Forced revelation, Althea mused. Controversial but possible. If every being in the galaxy simultaneously understood the consequences of these weapons, understood how close they are to extinction, perhaps they would demand change. The progenitors never tried this, Bit said. It was not in their plans. Then maybe it's time for a new plan, Taman said. He placed his hand on Bit's scaled head. You're not just a progenitor tool. You're alive. You can choose. And I choose to believe in the galaxy, even when it gives me every reason not to. Before Bit could respond, alarms screamed through the station. Daehyun checked his communicator, his face going pale. They found us. All three factions. Their fleets just dropped out of hyperspace. Taemin ran to the window. Outside, space lit up with the engines of hundreds of warships. Freth collective vessels formed a blockade on one side. Catherine Empire cruisers took position on another. Human military ships completed the triangle. Sanctuary Point was surrounded. A transmission came through, broadcasting to the entire station. Captain Hyunwoo's voice, distorted by anger, surrendered the progenitor and the human called Taemin. You have 1 hour before we open fire. We will destroy this entire station if necessary. They're actually working together, Beck said in disbelief. The three factions that hate each other are cooperating. That's how badly they want Bit. Yuna pulled up tactical displays. Sanctuary Point has minimal defenses. We can't fight three fleets. We can't even escape. They have the entire area locked down. Taemin looked at the assembled refugees filling Sanctuary Point. Thousands of beings who had fled war, seeking only peace. They would all die because he brought Bit here. No, Taemin said. I won't let that happen. He turned to Bit. You said you can connect with the progenitor network. Can you do it from here? Yes, but I need time to establish the connection. And I need a choice. Reset or revelation. I cannot do both. Revelation, Taemin said without hesitation. Show them. Show everyone what's really happening. Make them see the truth. If that doesn't work, if the galaxy still chooses destruction after knowing the consequences, then at least we tried. Bit looked at him with those infinite eyes. You are certain? This has never been attempted. It may not work. And once I begin, I cannot stop. Every conscious mind in the galaxy will experience what I show them. I'm certain. Bit nodded slowly. Then I will trust you as you trusted me. I will try. The creature moved to the center of the station's main hall where hundreds of refugees watched nervously. Bit's scales began to glow, patterns of light spreading across its body in waves. The glow intensified, brighter and brighter until Taemin had to shield his eyes. And then Bit connected to the network. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds touched by progenitor hands millions of years ago, ancient installations activated. They had been dormant so long that no one remembered they existed. But now they woke, responding to Bit's call. The countdown had begun. In 1 hour, every thinking being in the galaxy would share the same vision. They would see the truth of their situation. They would understand what their leaders were planning. And Taemin could only hope it would be enough. The three fleets waited in perfect formation, weapons charged and ready. Inside Sanctuary Point, Taemin stood beside Bit as the creature channeled power through the ancient network. The light emanating from Bit's body was so bright it hurt to look at directly, yet no one could look away. Subin's voice crackled over Taemin's communicator. She had managed to escape Haven's Edge and hack into the military communications network. Brother, I'm broadcasting everything on every frequency. The whole galaxy is watching. Good, Taemin said. Let them see. Captain Hyunwoo's voice cut through the silence. Your time is up, human. Surrender now or we open fire. Wait, Taemin transmitted back. Just wait. Something's about to happen. Something that will change everything. We are done waiting. The Vreth fleet powered up their weapons. So did the Kethrans. So did the human ships. All three factions united only in their desire to claim or destroy Bit. Their fingers hovered over triggers. Their AI systems calculated firing solutions. In seconds, Sanctuary Point would cease to exist. Then Bit released the vision. It started as a whisper in the mind, then grew into a roar. Every sentient being in the galaxy, from the smallest child to the oldest leader, experienced the same thing simultaneously. They saw through Bit's consciousness, accessing genetic memories millions of years old. They witnessed the progenitors at the height of their power, creating life and seeding it across empty worlds. They felt the joy of watching their children's species grow and develop, and they experienced the heartbreak as, time and time again, those children destroyed themselves. The vision showed 50 different galaxies, 50 different timelines. In every one, younger races developed faster than their wisdom. They created weapons they couldn't control. They fought wars they couldn't win. And they ended in silence, leaving only ruins and regrets. But the vision didn't stop there. Bit showed them the present, the reality of what was happening right now. They saw the Vreth Collective's dark matter facility, where scientists prepared weapons that would collapse stars. They witnessed the Kethran reality anchors being constructed, devices that would freeze time itself. They experienced human engineers activating the Void Engine, erasing test asteroids from existence as if they had never been. And they understood. These weren't deterrents. These were extinction weapons. Once deployed, there would be no coming back. The galaxy would tear itself apart and there would be nothing left to save. The vision shifted again. Bit showed them possible futures. In one, the weapons fired. Space-time shattered. Reality itself began to unravel. In another, the reset activated. All complex life became simple cells, and evolution started over. Both futures ended in death. But then Bit showed them something the progenitors had never included in their protocols. A third option, a future where the younger races chose differently, where they looked at the weapons they had built, understood the consequences, and stepped back from the edge, where they realized that survival meant cooperation, not domination. It was a small possibility, a fragile hope, but it was there. The vision lasted 5 minutes. To those experiencing it, it felt like years. When it ended, silence fell across the galaxy. On the bridge of the Vreth flagship, Captain Hunwoo stood frozen, his hand still hovering over the firing control. He had seen everything. He understood what his weapons would do, not just to enemies, but to everyone, including his own people. His hand fell away from the control. On the human military cruiser, Admiral Kang stared at her screens. She had authorized the Void Engine project, believing it would protect humanity, but the vision showed her the truth. There was no protection in erasure, only emptiness. She sent an order to Earth. Shut down the Void Engine, permanently. Throughout the three fleets, the same realization spread. Soldiers looked at each other across view screens and saw not enemies, but fellow travelers on the same doomed path. They had been fighting over which faction would control the galaxy, never stopping to consider whether any of them would survive to rule it. Bit's glow faded. The creature collapsed exhausted. Taemin rushed forward, catching Bit before it hit the ground. Did it work? Bit's voice was weak in Taemin's mind. I don't know yet, Taemin whispered back. The fleets hadn't moved. Weapons were still charged. But no one was firing. Taemin activated his communicator, broadcasting to all three factions. You saw what I saw. You know what's at stake. We can keep doing this, keep fighting until there's nothing left. Or we can try something new. The progenitors believed we couldn't change. Let's prove them wrong. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Captain Hyunwoo's voice came through, quieter than before. What do you propose, human? Talks, real ones. Not about who surrenders to whom, but about how we all survive. Sanctuary Point is neutral ground. Come here. Not with weapons, but with words. The collective does not negotiate with lesser species, Hyunwoo said, but his voice lacked conviction. The collective is facing extinction along with everyone else, Beck transmitted from inside the station. I served you for years, Hyunwoo. I know you're not a fool. You saw what's coming. Do you really want to be the one who fires the first shot in the war that ends everything? Silence. Then slowly, the Vreth fleet powered down their weapons. The Kethran commander followed suit, their musical voice filling the communication channels. We have witnessed truth today. Perhaps it is time to stop hiding from it. Admiral Kang was last. My government will not approve. They'll call me a traitor. Probably, Taemin agreed. But they'll be alive to do it. That's more than we can say if we keep on this path. The human ships powered down. Over the following days, representatives from all three factions gathered at Sanctuary Point. The negotiations were tense, often breaking down into arguments. But they kept talking, because they had all seen the alternative and no one wanted that future. Bit recovered slowly, growing even larger. The creature was now the size of a small spacecraft. Its consciousness had expanded during the vision, spreading across the ancient progenitor network. Bit was no longer just a single being but a distributed presence that could observe the entire galaxy. I can feel them, Bit told Taemin one night as they stood in the observation deck. All the thinking beings. Their hopes and fears. Some are angry about the vision. They feel violated having their minds touched. But others are grateful. They didn't know how close they were to the end. What happens now? Taemin asked. Will you stay like this? Connected to the network? I cannot return to a single body. The transformation is permanent. But perhaps this is better. The progenitors left me as a judge, but I choose to be a witness instead. I will watch the younger races and offer guidance when asked. But I will not control. I will not force. The choice of what becomes of the galaxy belongs to those who live in it. That's a very human way of thinking, Taemin said with a smile. I learned from a human, Bit replied warmly. The negotiations took 3 months. In that time, Subin arrived at Sanctuary Point with data she had stolen from all 3 governments. Proof of the weapons programs, documentation of the lies told to citizens, evidence of corruption and warmongering. She released it all publicly. The fallout was immediate. The Vreth Collective split into reformist and traditionalist factions. The Kethran Empire underwent peaceful restructuring. Human governments faced massive protests, forcing them to dismantle the Void Engine and other dangerous projects. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts, still disagreements. But the galaxy pulled back from the brink. The 3 factions signed a treaty, not of surrender but of mutual survival. They established the Galactic Council, where all species would have a voice. Taemin was offered a position as humanity's representative. He declined. He had never been good at following orders or politics, but he agreed to serve as a liaison, traveling between worlds and helping resolve disputes. Bit, in its distributed form, would accompany him, offering perspective from the progenitor network. On the day Taemin prepared to leave Sanctuary Point, Dr. Yuna gave him a gift. A data chip containing coordinates. What's this? Taemin asked. Long-range scans detected another derelict. Far out in unexplored space, the energy signature matches the ship where you found Bit's egg. Taemin felt his heart race. More eggs? Possibly. Or maybe just more mysteries. Yuna smiled. Either way, someone should investigate. Someone who knows how to protect what they find. Taemin looked at the coordinates, then at the stars beyond the viewport. The galaxy was at peace for now. But peace required maintenance. It required people willing to hope, to try, to believe that things could be better. He activated his communicator. Subin, want to go on a salvage run? His sister's laughter came through the speaker. Thought you'd never ask. Give me coordinates. Taemin input the data, then walked to his ship. The Morning Star had been repaired and upgraded, but it was still the same vessel that had carried him through so many adventures. As he settled into the pilot's chair, he felt Bit's presence in his mind, warm and reassuring. Ready? Bit asked. Always, Taemin replied. The Morning Star launched from Sanctuary Point, leaving the crowded station behind. Ahead lay empty space, ancient mysteries, and the promise of new discoveries. The galaxy had changed. Taemin had changed. But some things remained the same. There were still wrecks to explore. Still stories waiting to be found. Still eggs that might need protecting. And as long as there were people like Taemin, people who chose hope over fear, compassion over violence, the galaxy would have a chance. Not a guarantee, but a chance. That was enough. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its crew toward the unknown. Behind them, the galaxy continued its work of healing. It would take time. Maybe generations. But the foundation had been laid. All because a salvager found an egg and chose to protect it. All because when the galaxy demanded destruction, one human said no. The story wasn't over. It was just beginning. And for the first time in millions of years, the ending wasn't written yet. The younger races would write it themselves, one choice at a time. Taman smiled as the stars streaked past. Whatever came next, whatever challenges awaited, he would face them the same way he had faced everything else, with stubbornness, hope, and a refusal to accept that things couldn't be better. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't ancient technology or cosmic power. Sometimes it's just one person who refuses to give up. And that more than anything else was what it meant to be human.